Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. In today's video, I will be making some string lights using LED light bulbs. I have wanted to try this DIY for the longest time, but I finally got to do it during this festive season with some help from my dad. So without further ado, let's get started with all the supplies you will need for this DIY. The first thing you will need are LED light bulbs. Next, these are the light bulb holders or the sockets, and this is where all your wiring will go. Then you will also need a plug to connect everything to a power supply, and of course wire according to the measurement of your need. You can get all of these supplies from any electric light shop near you. I would advise getting some extra pieces for everything just in case something goes wrong, and for my DIY I will be using 12 of the bulbs, and I decided to space them 1.5 feet apart from each other. The bulbs that I am using are these filament LED ones because I really like the aesthetic of these, but you can also get normal LED bulbs if that is what you prefer. Moving on, you're also going to need some tools like this paper cutter, some pliers, and a variety of screwdrivers according to the screw inside the sockets. Please make sure that you get help from someone who knows what they're doing if you attempt to try this, and please do be careful. So the first thing you need to do is measure the wire, and as I said, I am leaving 18 inches gap between each of the light bulbs, and I will only show you how to do one because it is a very repetitive process and it is the same for each and every light bulb. Once you measure the wire, mark it and cut it using the pliers. As you can see, these wires have two wires inside of them, which is why it is kind of split in the middle. Then you need to make a hole on top of the socket or the lid of the socket so that the wire can go through. When you open it, it should look like this. Then take the two wires and get them through that hole so it looks like this. Then you will need to use the pliers again to separate the wires. Make a small cut on the middle of the tip like that on both the wires, and then you should be able to separate them with your hand like this. Now these have copper wires inside of them, so to make the connection, take the paper cutter and cut out the tips to expose the copper wire part. And this part was really tricky and it was really hard for me to do, so my dad did this part, but I got the hang of it later. Now I'm not going to go into the depth of what a parallel connection is and all of that, but basically what you need to do is you need to connect the tips of the wire alternating the source. So we had two wires coming through the hole of the holder, and since we split those, we now have 4. So make sure that one of the wires of the first one is connected to the wire of the second one. I hope you guys can understand this, but it should look something like this. So the first pair of wires goes into this middle part, and it doesn't really matter which pair goes where, but you just need to screw that in place, and the second pair goes into the other one with the screw. Once the wires are in place, make sure that they do not come out and are secure, and then you can finally close the bulb socket. While fixing the lid of the socket, make sure that you rotate the lid part and not the socket part so you don't mess up the wires. And it should finally look something like this. After repeating this process for 12 more sockets, it's finally time to connect it to the plug. For that, first unscrew the top part of the plug and then the screws inside so that the wire can go through like this. Make sure to screw that part back so that the wire doesn't slip out of the plug. Usually any plug has two places for the wires to connect to. So again, you need to cut off the tip to expose the copper wire and screw them into place. While making connections like this, you should always make sure that the wires are secure and will not come out in any way. Then you just screw the lid back on and it's done. Now the most important step is to check our connection before fitting in the light bulbs. Since my dad is an electrical engineer, we already had this at home, but this is a multimeter and we're going to use this to check our connection. So you just have to turn it on and put it to this beep setting mode. It comes with these red and black wires, so when we check the connection, if it beeps like this, then the connection is wrong and there is a very high chance of short circuit. So to check our connection, place the red and black tip on top of the plug like this, and if there is no noise, then our connection is good to go. But in the case it does make a beep sound, you have to check each and every one of your socket connection again and make sure that the wires are connected properly. Since our connection passed the test, it's time to fit in the light bulbs. It's better to do this one by one because I think it would be easier to find out if there's a defect in any one of them. So that is what I did. After checking all of the light bulbs, it was finally time to hang it up. This was one of the most complicated DIYs that I have ever done, but the result makes it worth all the effort because I love the vibes of these kind of lights, especially during the festive season. I will probably use these other times too because these are great for outdoor lighting and probably will be great when you're doing a barbecue party or something. So this is how the lights turned out, and my camera doesn't do justice to it because they were much prettier than what my camera picks up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and found it helpful, and hopefully you guys understood my scuffed instructions. But make sure to hit the like button if you did and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye!